The Rockets' postseason bus finally hit a speed bump.
Harden drive.
Obviously, you want games to be pretty, but when it's close like that last night, we did the things necessary to win.
But they still rolled past the Jazz again, and now the Rockets need just one more win to advance. Harden's head-scratching performance and what might lie ahead. Sports Radio 610's Paul Gallant in studio to discuss it all.
The Texans' offseason program is underway. The schedule is out, and the draft is this week. How loudly will the board speak? We break down the biggest storylines from each.
Nobody sees it. It's going to drop.
And the Astros, in their wildest game of the season, finish off a long road trip. The bats are cooking, but the pitching got cooked.
Time to take our shots on Sports Sunday right now.
Live from KPRC Channel 2, this is Sports Sunday.
Hi, everybody. Welcome into Sports Sunday. I'm Randy McAvoy, Adam Wexler, Laney Fritz. Great to have you with us. I hope you had a great weekend as well. A lot to get into over the next 30 minutes. I mean, the plate is full tonight, guys.
As it should be on a happy Easter and a happy Passover to everybody.
Yep, I think we'll start with the most important thing. Rockets?
That would be the Rockets. They're on the clock right now. Big show tonight. Let's get to it with the big story on the Easter Sunday. Is there any doubt the Rockets are rolling on the cusp of getting the sweep in the books tomorrow night? Last night, not a game the Rockets had business winning, but it's all about the W. James Harden, dismal 3 for 20 shooting, but he still got 22 and 10 assists. With the beard off, other guys stepped up. Guys like Chris Paul, 18 for CP3. P.J. Tucker, Eric Gordon combined for 24, including 5 made threes. Ugly or not, 104-101 win, 3-0 series lead. Laney, the series, it's over, right?
I think so, but Monday night, the Rockets have a chance to finish this series and go ahead and look ahead to round 2. It's always been about the bigger picture for this team, and through the slow start to the season, the injuries, the roster changes, they've stayed the course, and they are now peaking at just the right time and playing like a championship caliber team. For James Harden and the Rockets, their focus has been to remain even-keeled, never get too high or never get too low, even if you start a game 0 for 15.
I mean, I still took 20 shots. We only made 3 of them. So the mindset, mentality never changes. Just keep going. I think that's most guys, if they're missing a couple shots, they probably stop or look to pass more. Not me. I keep going.
Last year's team was a hamstring away, as they've put it, from the finals. And already in this first series, this season's team appears to have much more depth. Harden credits that to the new additions and their willingness to buy in.
I mean, they've been here for a few months. Austin, D-House was in and out. Kenneth, those guys are huge and a big part of what we're trying to do. And they've caught on very well. Like they've come out and learned what we're trying to do, and they did it to the best of their ability. What we have in our locker room is not a lot of teams have. So as long as we can stay focused on what we need to do individually and as a team, every possession, we'll be all right.
And despite the fact that a team has never come back from being down 3-0 in a series, the Rockets know their work in round 1 isn't finished yet.
Seen a lot of stuff happen that has never happened. Records being broken, things been happening. So this team not going to give up. They're going to keep fighting. It's not in them to give up. They're gonna fight all the way to the end. So I think Game 4 is going to be just as tough as Game 3 was.
I can see that. Well, Game 4 tomorrow night in Salt Lake City. Another late tip-off at 9:30 p.m. Central. Should the series return to Houston, Game 5 would be Wednesday night at Toyota Center. That tip time is still to be determined.
All right, let's talk more Rockets now as this series it could end tomorrow night in Salt Lake City. Pleasure to be joined by Sports Radio 610's Paul Gallant in studio with us, with Wex and Laney, myself. And let's talk about it, guys. This is a series that they're on the verge of wrapping this thing up. Do you see anything other than a sweep here tomorrow night just to get this thing over with?
I see a sweep. I think their one chance to beat the Rockets was yesterday. They didn't take advantage. James Harden had an off night, and I think it's a done deal. It's called a series. It's over.
You like how she called that an off night? I think a lot of people would like to look at that as just an off night, right? Yeah. Then that's what it was, and she's right. The opportunity to make this a series came in Game 3, and they blew it by doing what they did in Games 1 and 2, missing open shots nonstop. Why would it stop now?
That was a disaster night. That's one of those nights where you don't want to face anyone, I'd imagine, afterward for James Harden, and they were still able to win. Utah was done before this series began. Their defense, it's cute and all, but it's basically like going up against a team. Say they're like a World War I kind of army going up against a World War II kind of army. Not very good. We saw it with the French against the Germans back in World War II.
There you go.
The Rockets have stronger weapons.
Yes.
Definitely.
Hey, even with Harden doing what he did last night, I don't think it's going to happen again here anytime soon. But what does that say about this team? The way, hey, our superstar has the off night. We can pick up the slack. Chris Paul, Eric Gordon, PJ Tucker. I mean, that's the depth of this basketball team.
Yeah, Paul did make a reference to the Spanish defense, trying to play defense from back behind here, which is what Ricky Rubio's been doing the entire series, which is ridiculous. And it happened at the end of the game when he was begging Harden to get going, giving him open looks, and that's what really kind of lit up Harden just a little bit. He was even smiling at the end. He'd made 2 shots and he was smiling. But the Jazz have put themselves in this position. They've decided to go this route, and this is a great defensive team all year that went gimmick for the postseason. Bad idea.
Not working.
Yeah, you asked what this says about the Rockets. I think it says that they're a championship caliber team this time around, and it's because of the depth they have on nights when Harden isn't on point, and also the defense that they have in order to. It's different than any season we've seen before. Other teams can go on a run, and they shut that down quickly. They get settled in, and I'm really impressed with the defense.
Yeah, the defense is really good. Eric Gordon's done a hell of a job against Donovan Mitchell, who does not look like he wants to be in this series, which is saying something. I mean, honestly, we look at the Rockets defense, and typically we don't talk about it as one of the best in the league. It has been really good. This next round, though, against Golden State, and yes, the series is already over. This next series against Golden State is going to be really tough.
Let's talk about this, because this series is going to end whether it's tomorrow night or if they come back home on Wednesday. Let's look ahead now to beyond, deeper in this playoff run.
No, I with respect to the rest of the NBA, it's a 2-team race. It always has been, right? I mean, it's the Rockets and the Warriors. We knew it was going to be this coming season, probably this past offseason too. The Rockets are totally different. I'm curious as to how a team that doesn't have Trevor Ariza is going to do against this Golden State Warriors team, because you need all the bodies you can possibly have to annoy Kevin Durant. But it's going to be interesting, that's for damn sure.
I think they actually have enough other weapons. They're different players, and they don't have the length of Ariza, but they have so many different bodies they can use in all these defensive schemes. That's what people have seen in this series. The Rockets are an outstanding defensive team. The team they've been the last 2 months is the team they brought to the playoffs, and that's why they're a threat to the Warriors, the biggest threat, again, as always.
If I'm I've never put anything past the Warriors because of the shooters they have. Like when you have Steph Curry and Klay Thompson on your team, I'm not putting anything past them. But if I was the Warriors watching that game last night, I'm much more scared than I've ever been to face the Rockets in the playoffs.
All right, we've got a little less than a minute now. If you look at an X factor, the rest of this series, future rounds as well, one player you feel like needs to be consistent. I'm going with Eric Gordon. I like what he brings to the table. Agree, disagree? Who else do you want to throw in that?
Yeah, I think Gordon's a good one, because defensively he's been so good. Can Eric Gordon actually do the same things he's been doing to Donovan Mitchell against Klay Thompson or against Steph Curry? That's going to be really hard for Eric Gordon to do. Also, you have to look at somebody else who's going to be picking up the scoring load. Can Gerald Green or Daniel House be consistent for the majority of a series? I'm not 100% sure, but it was really nice in Game 3 to see Gerald Green come off the bench and actually look good out there, because, sometimes it is basically like throwing the dice out there with Gerald Green. You don't know what you're going to get.
All right, good stuff on the Rockets. Again, Game 4 in Salt Lake City coming up tomorrow night as they go for the sweep. Paul, stick around a little bit later in the show. We're going to talk some NFL draft, Texans, and some guys he's looking at maybe they could take in that first, second round coming up later this week. Good stuff. Appreciate it. All right, let's talk some baseball now. Astros series finale with the Rangers, and a rough day for Colin McHugh. He gave up a pair of runs here on this Hunter Pence home run. That didn't take long to get out of the park. McHugh gave up 10 runs today, 9 earned runs, had allowed only 5 in his first 4 starts, but the Astros then made a game of it. Solo home run, Bregman, Brantley in the 5th to get it going. Wes.
And then you saw the ones from Correa and Reddick, and then the big one in the 9th you thought might get things going. That drew the Astros with an 11-9. That one from Springer. Altuve walks with the bases loaded. Now it's 11-10. Robinson Chirinos returning to be the hero for the Rangers because he struck out with the bases loaded. The Astros lose 2 of 3 again to the Rangers.
You had me on that one for a second. All right, Astros start a 7-game homestand tomorrow, beginning with the Twins. Houston won all 6 of their games at Minute Maid Park this season. They're now a game behind Seattle in the AL West standings, but the Rangers, a big surprise. They're right there with the Stros.
I think it's great. I think anytime you have a chance to play on Monday night, Sunday night, Thursday night,
think it's great for the players, the fans. Those primetime games mean so much to our players, to us as coaches, our organization, and our fans.
All right, that was Texans coach Bill O'Brien earlier this week as the Texans' 2019 schedule was officially unveiled. 3 primetime games for the Texans. They'll play 7 times against teams that made the playoffs last year and face 5 former MVPs. Let's take a look at it. Starts Monday Night Football, a trip to the Superdome, taking on Drew Brees and the Saints. Home openers the following week against the Jags. Nick Foles, trip to L.A. to face the Chargers, and home for the Panthers after that.
October begins with former MVP Matt Ryan coming to Houston. Road games the next 2 weeks against Mahomes and the Chiefs, then Luck and the Colts, and then back home for I don't know who at quarterback and the Raiders.
Yeah, so November starts with a trip across the pond. Texans face the Jaguars in London, Wembley Stadium. That'll be an 8:30 a.m. our time kickoff. The bye week follows that, so that's good. They'll have time to get back and rest. And then it's a road trip to Baltimore, another Thursday night home game. This time it's against the Colts.
All right, here's the final stretch now. December 1st, defending Super Bowl champs from New England come to town. Sunday Night Football right here on Channel 2. Regular season concludes at NRG against the Titans. So what are your initial thoughts? We got about a minute now to take a look at that. Very difficult schedule, especially in those first 7 weeks for the Titans.
Yeah, I think the season could start similar to what we saw last season. Hopefully not, but
yeah, stay away from that.
It's a tough start, especially when you're going to face Drew Brees and the Saints after the season they just came off for the first game. So I'm hoping they can, grab a few wins in those first few weeks, because otherwise it could get kind of scary to start.
I think it looks like they're going to have to win late, and the schedule kind of lays out that way where they can. But if they're a good team, if 11-5 wasn't a mirage based on the schedule, then they need to go out and beat these teams. Deshaun Watson needs to outplay some of these quarterbacks. Their defense needs to be capable of stopping some of these quarterbacks, which is why we're looking forward to them adding some players in the draft to help them do that.
So some challenges for the defense early on. You get superstar talent in that first couple of months of the season. It's going to be a fun season. You seen some early predictions on the win totals. I like to wait a little bit longer. I want to see how this thing plays out after the draft, into the summer, past training camp. But it is a difficult schedule for them.
Yeah, you mentioned all these MVPs they're going to face at quarterback. 7 of their 16 games are against quarterbacks in the top 10 in passer rating last year, and Watson's another one. So basically everybody that was awesome, they're playing Houston next year.
All right, schedule is out. The countdown begins to early September. Good stuff. All right, still to come on Sports Sunday, Sports Radio 610's Texans insider Paul Gallant weighs in on the schedule and what are his Texans' priorities for the draft, which begin on Thursday.
And the focus for that 2019 season has begun. No rehab this offseason for JJ or for DW4. That is a good start. Well, what about the team's plans for he who is franchise tagged, Jadeveon Clowney? That's next.
The Houston Texans select J.J. Watt.
Manning sacked again, J.J. Watt.
DeAndre Hopkins.
Throws left side of the end zone. Caught, Hopkins.
Jadeveon Clowney.
Rock and roll. Jadeveon Clowney.
Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson. Touchdown, Houston.
Welcome back to Sports Sunday. Fans would love to see any of those stars come to the team Thursday night in the draft. Now, the lead up to the season truly began this week for the Texans, defending division champs and the difficult schedule that comes with it. But in the months leading up to training camp and the Monday night opener, there is still a lot to be done.
The schedule is out. The team is working out. The draft is almost here.
The Houston Texans select.
But what questions about the 2019 Texans season have been answered or even addressed? On the positive side, 2 cornerstone pieces of the team aren't recovering from major surgeries and stuck in the training room this offseason.
The last 2 years, you're just trying to get back and hoping to be able to play and hoping that you can play at a decent level. Whereas this year, you get to actually focus on improving and getting better.
Trying to get ahead and be able to do everything. Last year I was kind of trying to eat, like you said, ease into it and trying to find my way. But I'm going in full, full face, throttle, full in and, embracing the whole process.
On the negative side, a third key piece, Jadeveon Clowney, likely to miss a lot of voluntary and possibly mandatory time in the building because of his unresolved contract situation, regardless of General Manager Brian Gaines' public optimism.
That's the spirit of the franchise tag. There's a reason why we did that, and with every hope and intention of continue to work on that, that's still the plan.
It's no secret the team needs help on the offensive line and at cornerback. Gain again won't commit to those needs, but rather he'll let the draft board speak to him.
We'll let the board speak for itself and let the board talk to us. Get the board right, rank it correctly, and really let the board speak for itself. The board will speak for itself. The board will speak to us about the next best player to pick. We will make sure that the board speaks to us as it relates to whoever we pick when we're on the clock.
Comedy aside, as it relates to need on draft day, here's how Gaines sees it.
If it happens to be a position of need or perceived need, and it happens to be the next best player on the board, those are the best selections, obviously.
We'll see if those best selections are there on the board at pick number 23 Thursday, and they have 4 picks in the top 86. They have 85 days to hammer out a long-term deal with Clowney with that July 15th deadline as he sits on the franchise tag. That's the biggest unresolved issue heading into the upcoming season. Paul is back now with Randy for the Texans talk heading into the draft. Guys?
All right, thanks a lot, Wex. Talking more about the Texans as they get ready for a big draft week. Once again, joined by Sports Radio 610's Paul Gallant, host of Mad Radio, 6 to 10 a.m. in the mornings. Hey, let's jump right into it. It is draft week. Everybody's been counting down, circling the date on the calendar. Let's talk about your initial takes on priorities for the Texans as they get ready for this draft.
So I think that the big priority should be cornerback if we're talking about the Texans as an actual Super Bowl contender this coming season. Now, here's why. You take a look at all the quarterbacks that they're going to be going up against this coming season. Just take a look at that schedule. It is a very, very daunting task. I would like to see them find a guy who's really good in man coverage so that they can have that players like Julio Jones and other great wide receivers that they'll be going up against on lockdown. So that's going to be tough.
So secondary, you like that. And of course, everybody's talking about the offensive line. When you have a quarterback that was sacked, what, 62 times, I think, last season, that's got to be a high priority for these guys.
I mean, you had your quarterback on a bus going to Jacksonville because his lungs were bruised. So yeah, you need to figure out the offensive line as well. Left tackle, right tackle, Randy, they need some desperate help on the offensive line.
Okay, before we get to 3 names you like, I want to ask you, right now they're going to be number 23rd pick in that first round. Do you see him staying put, moving up, maybe moving back a little bit? What do you think?
Well, this is a tricky one. Now, as someone who is a veteran of the Madden video game franchise, if I'm a first-time general manager, I want all the picks I possibly can get, because the more picks you get, the more swings you get at actually nailing the picks. If I'm Brian Gaine, I'm thinking long and hard about trading back, maybe into the top of the second round. You get a couple extra picks along the way.
All right, 3 names that you like. You and I were talking about it. You like on the offensive line, Andre Dillard from Washington State, Rock Ya-Sin from Temple, a cornerback, and a tight end, T.J. Hockenson from Iowa. What do you like most about Dillard?
Okay, well, Dillard, I mean, he's a 4-year starter at left tackles. Think about all that experience that you could be plugging into the offensive line. One that does not have a whole lot of it other than Julian Davenport and, unfortunately, the false starts and the other penalties that come along with Julian Davenport. You need somebody that's been doing it for a little bit of time so that they can come right in and compete right away. As far as Rock Ya-Sin, Randy, so this is a guy, I've been looking at all the cornerbacks. People talk about Greedy Williams from LSU. They talk about also DeAndre Baker from Georgia. But Rock Ya-Sin from Temple is a guy who not only can play well in man coverage, he's tough. He likes hitting people. He likes tackling.
Chip on the shoulder.
Exactly. And you know what? You know, Randy, like Jonathan Joseph, we've seen him do that in the past. Kareem Jackson did it for a long period of time. They want a guy who I think is physical. I feel like he checks a lot of boxes for the Texans at corner.
Real quickly, Hockenson, Iowa, tight end. Yeah, this is a guy that can really grow into this position. Apparently, reading up, he's a good blocker. Pass catching skills there.
You know what? He's a corn-fed Midwestern guy. He's big, he's bulky, and he's one of those guys where if he were to slip to the Texans, and it would be a miracle for him to fall that far, he could really help them out, not only as a blocker, but also as a receiver. There are some Gronk-like tendencies there without the back issues that he had coming out of Arizona in college. So I would love to see him slide, because you imagine him paired up with that receiving core that the Texans have. Oh boy.
All right, we got a little less than a minute here. Jadeveon Clowney is a hot topic. Some people say, hey, there's a chance he could be traded on draft day, or will this drag out a little bit? Are they even close to maybe even getting a deal done? Indications are that's not going to happen. You see some of his numbers there.
It doesn't sound like they're anywhere close to making a deal. We've talked with former Texans wide receiver Cecil Shorts, who is saying that he's hearing Clowney would actually be willing to maybe pull a Le'Veon Bell, sit out a whole season.
Wow.
I think the Texans would be crazy to trade Jadeveon Clowney, because what are they actually going to get in return for him on a defense that needs all the pass rushing help that they can possibly get? However, I've heard so many weird messages when it comes to Jadeveon Clowney, Randy. I don't know what's going to happen.
All right, good stuff. We get ready for NFL Draft Week. It all begins on Thursday. He is Paul Gallant, Sports Radio 610. You can hear him every morning, 6 to 10 a.m. Good stuff, man. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Randy.
Thanks. All right, still ahead on Sports Sunday. We make a quick stop in Sugar Land as the defending Atlantic League champs get set to open the 2019 campaign. That's on the way. We're checking in with the Skeeters next. All right, Astros 21 games into their season. This week, the Sugar Land Skeeters kick off their 7th season at Constellation Field. The Skeeters, fresh off winning that Atlantic League title last year, they've got a roster that includes 18 players with major league experience. Good baseball. Manager Pete Cavilla says it's going to be a fun year out there for the fan base that consistently supports the Skeeters baseball team.
We still got tons of people coming in here. We got a great support system here, and it's a great place to play. I mean, I can't imagine a better, independent baseball facility.
All the players have a wonderful time here with the amenities, and it's just everything's first class. Being a part of it was something I'm looking forward to.
All right, Skeeters season opener is Thursday night there at Constellation Field in Sugar Land. It's going to be a lot of fun out there. One final timeout. Sports Sunday coming right back.
Before we go tonight, Josh Reddick homered earlier in today's game, but today was extra special for him. He and his wife, Jet, announced on Instagram they're expecting, and it's not one, but you see they both hit. That means 2. So there are going to be 2 little Reddicks running around the house in October. Twins. They added a gender reveal, so 2 boys.
Pretty nice looking swing for Jet. Clearly,
know,
Josh can swing it. She's an athlete, former volleyballer.
What a way to announce it. Hey, big week ahead with the Rockets. Astros back in town. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.